it's that one guilty pleasure purchase, and it's the blacked out Lamborghini Huracan, the Batmobile, if you will, right? And I want to end here because that's the carrot that I'm dangling in front of my face. I'm watching the world through her eyes again, and just like appreciating flowers and grass and like little toys, and watching a Disney movie and just having her laugh and think things are hilarious.
If you don't go to the gym or you don't work out, you're like super tired, because the energy actually comes from the thing that you're doing, not from the recharging. We always like to go like deeper into the people that we are and why we like to amplify others' voices and like what makes us tick.
Put my brain around it and attacked it. I could do it because it felt like I could never escape that former me.
I've hit my limit of diminishing returns. Like, why would I do this any longer? Like, the upside's not there anymore.
They say never meet your heroes, right? Like, I want to be the hero that someone, when you meet them, they were exactly who you thought they were, and they made you feel amazing about yourself, and they inspired you to go do that for someone else.
Hey, welcome back to the Wealth Juice podcast. Ryan normally does the intro here, but we're flipping the script on this episode. As always, it's Ryan and Corey. But today, a few weeks ago, we did a podcast episode where Ryan interviewed me. We did like behind the microphone, just kind of get to know us a little bit deeper. For people that are newly listening or maybe haven't heard our story in a while, we always like to go like deeper into the people that we are and why we like to amplify others' voices and like what makes us tick. And I think we're doing a reverse here where you've heard from me, but we haven't heard from Ryan. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be getting inside the brain of Ryan Bevilacqua. Just so many questions. So we're going to start it here, but the last one got pretty solid reviews. People really liked it. So we will dive in. Well, first of all, Ryan, how do you feel about doing this?
I'm excited, dude. I love these type of episodes. We always unpack the brains and thoughts and strategies of other people that are highly successful in our space. And I think a lot of our crew and listeners and friends, they want to know about us and our journey. I think that was the start of this podcast, right? Like your inception idea was to start a podcast where people followed us on our journey. And we've done end of year reviews and like where we're at in our portfolio, but really to talk about where we are in our personal lives and kind of how we marry the personal and professional lives. I think it's great. So I'm excited for this episode. Nothing's off the table. Feel free to ask away, dude. And let's get it done. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, this is going to be great. And we just, you and I are both having like big things happen in our lives too. I mean, you just celebrated like your brother-in-law's bachelor party where he's getting married, and I just got engaged. And it's just like, you kind of think about the life outside the business, and that's what we want to highlight today. So if somebody only knows you from an Instagram post or like listening to the podcast for a couple of years, like what do you think they're missing about you, Ryan?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I would say probably just the competitiveness of you and I. And I guess not to like bring, I guess I'll try to keep it mostly about me, but I think there's this innate, I don't know if it's a chip on my shoulder, but that inner drive, right? Where I just hate losing. And so when something's put in front of me, I always try to strategize around it and how to get to the end level. And maybe this started out as a kid where, back in the day, growing up, I was a late bloomer to say the least. And like my friends grew before me and they were always really good at sports. And I was always behind a little bit until I got into high school. And then, I finally hit my surge, and I actually went to a school. I left my hometown friends to go to a private Catholic high school because they were doing away with sports in my hometown. And it was basically one of those things where, hey, go take the test. If you pass the test for the other school, you go. And I was like, that's kind of a weird way to like lure me to the other school. But my parents, we talked about it, ended up passing the test, went to the other school. And then at that time, it was really interesting. That's when I started hitting puberty and started going into that like next phase of life. Right. But I just remember this thing. My mom got me a gym membership. And it literally changed everything for me, dude. I started running on the treadmill, hitting the weights, like going on, I don't know if it was YouTube back then, but whatever it was, but like watching people work out. I'm like, dude, okay, how do I become like the best version of me? And one of the coolest things was after coming back from a year of school and then seeing some of my friends that stayed in the hometown high school, and they saw me and they're like, people were walking by me, dude, and they didn't recognize me. It was the coolest thing I've ever felt in my whole life. And I was like, damn, you can change you. And that was like that inception for me where I was like, okay, if you put in the work, you put in the time, you can be a different version of yourself. And so for me is like, I never want to go back to that previous version. Right. And so that's why the gym is so important to me and like really putting in that grind. But it really showcased to me that anything I did, as long as I studied it, put my brain around it and attacked it, I could do it because it felt like I could never escape that former me. So I think that probably is like some like behind the scenes, one of those like deep things you think about every day is like that inner drive. There's something there where I always felt like I was behind. So I'm always chasing the next version of me, but also I like to prove. I kind of felt like I was always cast aside from getting picked on my friends' sports teams, and their dads were the coach, and I knew I was like the worst kid, right? And so I always needed to prove myself a little bit. That's how I felt, and so that's carried through to professional life, to everything I do. I just want to be competitive in anything that I do. And then, I even like video games, dude. Like, I just love the idea of, you don't get celebrated really in real life for doing much, right? But it's funny in video games, if you like level up, you get celebrated, you win these new things. And it's just such an interesting thing. So I was like, all right, how do you bring this fake character to life? And like, you are the main character of your own life. You're the lead, the casted lead of your own movie. And so how can I make it a movie or a game that I'm proud of? And I try to like really hone in on that and become the best that I can in everything I do.
It's pretty remarkable, because I would imagine that there are people listening that maybe like, and maybe it's a guy girl thing, but like, if you're 14 or 15 and like your mom gives you a gym membership, you might like rebel against that and be like, I don't need to lose weight, or I don't need to do this. Like, you might like have a distaste. Like, are you trying to send me a message, but you took it and ran with it in the opposite direction. It was like, no, like, actually, maybe you should thank your mom for that. Right. Like you changed the way that you thought about the world by changing something about you physically that allowed you to change mentally, because you realized that I could actually make a shift that maybe you didn't know before. And I think it's pretty empowering. So yeah, man, so I have a ton of questions here, and that was a really good start. This one's really interesting because you still have your 9-to-5 job, but I've always known that you're like made for more. And not that the 9-to-5, we talk about this all the time, not that there's anything wrong with it, but I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about this, considering you're still working your 9-to-5. But like, what was your wake up moment, or a moment that you realized that the 9-to-5 path long term isn't going to bring out the best version of you, or wasn't the right path for you?
Yeah, there's so many different things here. I don't know if I have like one specific moment, but I'll say this, and maybe it's from listening to a couple of people that we've had on the podcast too. But I've actually watched people get let go of 6-figure salaries in like 2 seconds for doing nothing wrong, just maybe because the business shifted or something happened in the economy or whatever it was, and they just like snap a finger, they're done. And then some people can find a job right away. Some people, it takes them a long time, and so realizing that was the only thing they had to stand on, and after they lose it, their whole life gets shifted, and maybe can potentially be in financial ruin if you don't have stuff going. So my point here is like, your future is dictated upon someone else, right? And I don't enjoy that, and I think one of the wake up moments I had was like, I was in a whether they want to call it a developmental huddle or something like that, where you're sitting there and all of the conversations we're having, I'm like, I'm not getting better from this. And I feel like at one point I became the smartest person in the room, and that's not a bragging thing, but there's the quote, like, if you always want to be the dumbest person in the room to get pulled up to the other people that are in the room. I wasn't motivated or interested in anyone else in the room. No one was inspiring me. And I was like, dude, I've outgrown this place. I've outgrown what I'm doing here. And so I thought, I'm like, okay, it's going to continue to grow. I can put in 1 million hours, make, you already hit the 6-figure salary. You got to go to 100K is the benchmark, right? Then you get 200K, 300K. But what do I have to go do to get those dollars? Do I have to literally play this chess game of corporate America for years and talk to people that aren't really inspiring me? And I looked at the next 3 stages above where I was, right? In my role. And I was like, I don't want to be any of these people. I see the way they're living their lives. That's just not me. And for some people, that's the path they want to do. And they're like, I'm chasing the dough and I'm chasing a version of me in corporate America. That's great. And I have no knock on it, but I think it might kind of go back to, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family where my dad owns a business, his 2 brothers own businesses. And he told me at a young age, like, dude, at some point you're going to come to me and you're going to say, I want to work for myself. And he always taught me from growing up, he's like, the corporate grind or working for someone else is great, but at the end of the day, you're always gonna have to punch a clock. You're always gonna have to do things in a confined box based on what is expected of you. And if you can run your own show, you can control your entire schedule. However, there's a lot more weight on your shoulders because you have to continually chase the dollars in a different type of way. but there's some pros with it too. So I think it was being taught at a young age, or having seen so many entrepreneurs around me. I was like, I think at some point I'm going to be one myself. It was just kind of in my blood, I felt. And then I had a couple moments where I was like, man, I'm in these rooms and I'm really not inspired by anyone. I don't want to be the person 2, 3, 4, 5 stages ahead. So this isn't for me forever. That was my wake up moment. I was like, I got to do something different. And that's kind of when you and I cracked heads a lot. And we talked about the podcast. We talked about building a real estate business and some other things that streamed off it. But that was really my like core moment when I'm like, I was sitting there and I'm like, this isn't it, man. It's just not it for me.
I think something noble that you did in your path was you had an opportunity to really ascend within the ranks of the company that you're working for. And you basically told them no, that you didn't want to. And that now I just want to caveat in saying that you're really proficient at the job that you do. And they understand that, right? Like you're very good at it. And you knew that you were very good at it. And there's some upside there because you can make money in the sales aspect and customer service. But you had an opportunity to go actually take a lower salary, but like, run a team and then have the opportunity to make significantly more down the future. And you said, I don't want to do that because I have this business that I'm going to grow on the side. And they respected it and you respected it. And you're in this position where you're like, that is a sacrifice that you made for our business, because you know that eventually that's going to be the thing that gets you out of that scenario and onto like just a magnified life. And I think that there's an opportunity for a lot of people to do that in the position that they're in. And it's like, hey, like maybe there isn't this corporate ladder grind climb, but maybe you can become so good at something that you're undeniable and they can't take that from you. And then you can still make money while you build something on the side. However, there will be a time, and this is me talking to you as a friend and a business partner, there will be a time that it's like the diminishing returns I've hit my limit of diminishing returns. Like, why would I do this any longer? Like the upside's not there anymore. That is a difficult conversation and one that you'll have to face and we'll have to face. But I just think it's noble of you that you did that. So
yeah. I want to touch on that because there's a lot of people still managing their W-2 and it's very unconventional. I think, at that point in time, I was on the leadership team, meaning like the management team, and you see behind closed doors and all that stuff, and you're running the team and growing and helping people basically elevate their careers, right, and managing the revenue within a company and all that stuff, right. And it was great, but the time, energy, and effort into that role was just too much for what we were doing, what I was trying to build, and it was super unconventional. But I basically approached them and says like, listen, like the previous role I had, I excelled at it. I loved it. I loved building relationships with clients. And it was really more so the ability to be like a headhunter. And like, it was a commission based, salary plus commission, right? And the commission is like that. Once again, the competitiveness in me, I was like, I'm good at this because I like to chase, and I'm okay with, I felt like I wasn't good with just showing up every day and just accepting a salary and saying like, no matter if I was amazing or decent or horrible this day, it was just the same thing. Right. Cause then I never had anything to chase ahead of that. I was always waiting for like a year or two for the promotion. So I love the commission based stuff here and like just giving yourself a ceiling that, you can break through. And so with that, I basically approached them as like, hey, listen, I want to take a step back based on all the things that I have going on. However, just know I'm bought in and I'm going to give you my 110% every single day on this because it's basically you eat what you kill. People in sales, they understand this. And so it just worked out. I was willing to look stupid in front of all my peers.
I'm sure that they were like, I've never seen anybody do this before.
They were like, did you get a demotion? Like what happened? And it was very personal to me. And I just, I didn't care. And I still don't. It's just one of those things. Like I know what I'm doing it all for. And I genuinely enjoy the role. I feel like I'm an integral part of the team. I mean, I'm the old head at this point, right? But you're right. At some point, it comes to this point where you're going to have to get uncomfortable to get really comfortable with the next role. I think for me, I didn't enjoy that thought of, hey, you got to take 2 steps back in order to take a step forward. But I'm realizing that happens regardless, whether you're in corporate or in the entrepreneurial game. It's the same thing. So you just have to figure out when that time is. It's going to happen at some point, but it's trying to find that perfect balance or the happy balance because, no one knows everyone's personal lives outside of corporate and what you're chasing. And do you want to raise a family? Do you want to buy the next big house? Do you want to move to a specific town? Do you like it, like health benefits? There's so much swirling. So my point here is for there's no right answer for anyone listening. It's like, you have to do you, but don't be afraid to do something that's unconventional. If you have a good relationship and you have a big ground to stand on and your value is there, it's possible. And that's what I'm doing. And it's a great position, but I'm not afraid. I wasn't afraid to look dumb. And I think a lot of people have that pride thing and they're like, they just couldn't do it because friends and family will ask questions and people at work will ask questions. Like, don't worry about it. Just worry about you. If it's right for you, just do it.
I think that confidence comes from repetition, and you've done so much repetition in our business that like when you walk around the office at your 9 to 5, you also have a chip on your shoulder there, because whether the people there know it or not, they don't have to know it. That's okay. But you know that you're building something outside. So if people look at you are like, oh, why didn't he take this? Like, oh, he's still in that role after X amount of years. It's like, they don't know. They don't have to know. And that's okay. And like, I know that you know that. And now it's all a balance, right? And we'll touch more on the work-life balance, but we actually did a podcast episode a couple weeks ago directly on that. So I think check that out probably like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Next question for me. How do you think being the oldest sibling has shaped who you are? I touched a lot on this because we're both the oldest sibling. And I don't think that's a mistake that we're business partners and the oldest sibling. I think that's a real thing. So how do you think it's played a role in your success?
Dude, I love this question. And I think we both stumbled upon this on an episode when we were talking to someone, and they might have asked us this, but it 100% gives me a leg up on what we're doing. Or maybe it's like allowed me to have the confidence to do what we do, and maybe just to try anything. It makes you a protector, a leader. And I think it puts the pressure on your shoulders pretty early. And I mean this because you go from being the baby of the family where, you know, you were handed everything. It's one of those things, but then you have a sibling pop out, and then potentially another one. Immediately you turn to, oh, you have to become a role model. They're going to look up to you. You need to make the correct decisions so that way they don't make dumb decisions. They have to follow you everywhere. They have to join you and your friends when you go out, and you have to watch them. You have to protect them and make sure like you're becoming the side parent or like the sidekick to your parents in certain situations. Oh, can you help them get dressed? Can you help feed them? Like all these things. And it's not something you realize as a kid. You have no idea. But as you do this in repetitive over time, now it's just in my nature to check in on my brothers, make sure they're good. Like I'm one of 3 boys. And so, you know, that was obviously tough on my parents growing up too, because we're crazy. But I think all of this, it's really strange because I never realized this, but I'm the oldest by 1 year of most of my friends. And so going through school, I was the first one I mentioned that private high school, right? I was the first one to go. And then all my friends' parents, they have kids that are 1 year younger than me. And then obviously I have my 2 younger brothers who are 4 years. One's 4 years younger than me, and the other one's 8 years younger. So we have a good gap there. But the kids that are always 1 year below me, they went to the private Catholic school like me. After that, I had to I was the first one to go to college. I was the first one to get engaged, first one to get married, first one to have a kid, all these things. I just did it. I was doing life as I knew it. But one day, one of my buddies, like one of my best friends, he was just like, dude, you don't realize like you've taken these steps before us, and we've all got to, I think it was at my wedding. It was something really nice. And I was not expecting to hear this, but it was just like, you've done so many different things before us and made us feel comfortable to go to the next level or to do things because you showed us it was possible. And if we ever had any questions, you were always willing to answer them. But like, it almost was like I was a big brother to those guys too. And I didn't even realize it. It was so cool to hear it. And then it kind of like swirled around. I was like, dude, like I enjoy that. I actually like being the pioneer, if you will, because it makes those guys are part of my why now. And I want to make sure that I'm doing things the right way, but also motivating and inspiring them and showing them what's possible. And like, you can do things that are not conventional. And this isn't to be like a braggadocious thing. It's just like, it actually, when there's days that I don't want to do things and I feel like I'm getting lazy, it gives me the fuel to push forward. Be like, dude, you're doing this. You're not just doing this for you. You're just doing this for the whole crew. And, you know, I like bringing people up, and there's so many, we can get like layered down into this thing, but there is a reason to hold your head high. It's like, when REI Bev comes home, I like being that guy. And like, they're just like, it's a different feel. Like once we started buying the real estate, they were like, dude, this is cool. You have a property. And then we get 2, 3 and like, how are you doing this? And I can show them the way. And I know you've done this too for a bunch of your friends, but it's a really cool thing where you can become the provider or the source of knowledge for your close friend group and your pack. Right. And just pave the way and show them, hey, dude, if you want to try something different, you can do it. And this is a way to do it. I've had 2 or 3 other friends start businesses, and we completely different. One was like insurance, and we sat down and we talked all about it and just like the trials and tribulations we went through and potentially getting a partnership. And so I think the oldest, it started all with me being the oldest, right? And having my brothers around me all the time. And then having the friends that were 1 year below. And it's just become this big thing where it pushes me forward every single day to go to the next level, even if maybe I'm not feeling it that day.
It's hard to turn back too when you're in that position. And I think you and I have discovered that, like, you're not like to backtrack on what you were doing. And we'll get into another question of like fear versus like chasing something, right? Like it's big, because if you have the weight of being like at the front of the line, I think it drives you, but it's also like, I can't let these people down. And that's my opinion on it. But I'm curious about I don't know if you asked me this question when we did this, but is there one risk that you're really glad you took, even though it may have scared the shit out of you?
Yeah, 100%. And I hope it's not too basic for everybody, but COVID happens, right? The world shuts down. We have so much free time. We're not sure what we're doing. And you were like, dude, we should start a podcast. And first of all, I wasn't like a massive podcast listener back then. And I would like to read the books. I do Audible and things. And we were studying the FI movement, real estate here and there. And you're just like, we should start a podcast. I was like, okay, what is it about? You're like, real estate. And I'm like, okay. And this was because I texted you or DM'd you after you got your first duplex. I was like, dude, we got to do this thing. And you're like, okay, like, let's start, like, let's get the ball in motion a little bit here. Like, what are we doing? And you came out of nowhere at the podcast. I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, what's it about? You're like, listen, we listen to the Bigger Pockets podcast and other podcasts out there, but a lot of the people on the show have like 1,000 units, and we're right here. We have one duplex, and we have our primary residences. And so you basically were like, hey, I think people would really resonate if we just share our journey and show that we are just average Joes, and we're going to take them along the ride. We don't know where we're going to get. We have no clue, but let's just go try this approach that's a little bit different, and people can grow with us over the years. I was like, okay, sounds pretty good. And then at one point I kind of sat down. I was like, okay, I'm in, but just know, once again, I think it's the integrator in me where like, I can't be disorganized, and I'm not just going to do something to do it. And I said, if we're going to do this, bro, like, we're going to really do this thing and build it out and like potentially become, I don't know if it's going to generate revenue, but it's going to become, let's treat it like a business, right? Like, if we're going to do it, we're going to show up each week. We're going to have some structure around it. We got to outline the episodes. We got to name it. We got to brand it. And I think you're like, oh, okay, like, what? Yeah, dude, I just want to start the podcast. So doing that was step one. The next thing that really took me out of my shell was, we decided we needed, after a couple episodes, we couldn't connect with the audience, and we needed a way for them to be able to talk with us. So we're like, okay, let's start an Instagram page. And originally it was just quotes, things about real estate, what we're learning, but like never really our faces. And I really didn't want to put my face out there. I didn't really, even on the podcast, I didn't want to get super like, I didn't want to tell everybody everything because it's out on the internet and your digital footprint and all that stuff. But once I got out of my comfort zone and we just said, I don't really know what it was, but that for me, that felt like a big risk. And I basically was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to try it. And once we did that, I got to see so many people's lives impacted. They would DM us and be like, dude, I did this. I think it's funny. Like, probably one of the biggest stories was Jesse Ray, who he hit us up a couple different times over the years and basically was like, hey guys, love your podcast. Ended up buying a unit. Hey, bought another one. And then like 6 months after that, and then a year goes by, he texts us, hey guys, just want to let you know, I have 2 properties that I'm running a co-living business out of. And I was able to retire and leave my W-2 job making over $180K a year, something crazy like that. And I was like, dude, wow. Like we were able to do that for someone else, but him listening to our podcast. But if we weren't honest and like shared everything we were going through, there's no way we would have had a relationship with him. He would have really understood who we are and then be us having all these other gentlemen and ladies on the podcast sharing their stories. I think just getting out of the comfort zone and being willing to consistently do it every week, that was the biggest risk that I think I ever took. Like, I was fine going to the new high school, fine going to the new college and meeting new friends and moving away from people. But to really put your thoughts and opinions out there, I think a lot of people are really afraid to do it. And even some of the crew we work with, and like the biggest fear for them is like talking in front of other people, asking honest questions, and then also putting their thoughts and aspirations and dreams out to the world to see. There's like, I'm too afraid to do it. And I think we're proof that when you do this, there's other people that are 10 steps ahead of you that have a hand reaching down and they're willing to pull you up, as long as you're a genuine person and your morals, values, and ethics are there and you're a good person. And so that was my biggest risk, and it's paid off, 20-fold, dude. More, and not even just on the dollars front, like just growing as a human being and getting us to, closer to us living out our purpose, if you will, right? And becoming the best version of you and that's important.
So you highlighted the importance to take risks, and where you would imagine where you'd be if you never did. So I think that a lot of times on the other side of the risk is just the thought that if I don't do this, being the same person is going to be some of the biggest regrets that I would ever have. And I'm sure you feel the same way, which I want to get to here in terms of like the risk. Now I'm curious about the mindset behind it. Like what keeps you up at night, in business, in life? Like, is there something that, do you have sleepless nights over anything?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing is making sure that I'm present at home and then in my relationships, just because I know how hard we go at this thing every single day. And you go to the W-2, and then we still at night, we have students in our mentorship group that we have to coach. And then we have the podcast that we have to keep up with and make sure we're on schedule and don't miss an episode. Then it's you and I, like outside of our business, when we talk to each other every day, hey, we were friends first, And so then it's also, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a son. There's so many things outside of business. And like, what are we doing this all for? So what keeps me up at night is to make sure I'm in line. And I've gotten checked a few times. And it's like, even though your phone's away, I can see, I'm looking in your eyes and like, you're still locked in and you feel tense right now. Like you're not in the moment. You're not the happy-go-lucky REI that's just willing to do anything fun, and like not anything fun, but it's just an interesting thing. And I think people going through this, you'll resonate this if you have a business, if you started one. It's very hard to shut off sometimes because someone always needs something. If you're running a team, if you're managing relationships all day, every day, I think my social battery gets really dwindled down by the end of the week. And sometimes on the weekends, I'm like, dude, I just don't need to see friends right now. I just need to like shut down and just recharge a little bit because I know I have to attack the next week. But I realize that in doing so, like it sometimes will be like, okay, you haven't seen your friends in a long time. When's the last time you called your sibling or whatever? And I'm not saying it's months go by, but one of those things to balance everything is hard, right? And that's my point. And it does keep me up at night because I'm like, what are we even doing all of this for, right? It's to be able to spend time with those people, to have the moments and the experiences and chasing the excitement in life. And I'm having the excitement with those people, but sometimes I get wrapped up in the entrepreneurial world and like this dream we're chasing that in making money, that it becomes hard. And I think it's nice to have people in your circle that are willing to check you, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a cousin, whatever. Just be like, dude, like, like I need you back here. And so recently some not so great things have happened on the family side. And like grief has happened. Like we've had some deaths and things like that. And like just stuff that sucks. And everybody goes through this at one point in your life, but it's really brought me back to say, it's so finite. Like this whole thing is so finite where you could just get hit by a bus tomorrow and it all goes away. You're balancing chasing your purpose and becoming the best version of you, but are you enjoying the ride? And with the people that, I think you mentioned this to me, you're like, dude, they didn't ask you to become an entrepreneur. They didn't ask you to go make all this money. They didn't ask you for all this protection. They just want you. And like, that's your ego. And that's you going and building the other stuff, thinking you need to do this and filling a void. Like they just want to spend time with you. And it's so like, it's just a nice reminder. So my biggest thing to bring it back is what keeps me up at night is making sure I'm where my feet are. I am present, whether my phone's in my hand or it's not. There's so many things swirling around. It's like, just make sure you are in the moment, locked in with the people that want you around them. This weekend, I just got back from my brother-in-law's bachelor party. And it's an interesting thing. I'll bring this up. Like I stopped drinking about maybe 8 months ago. And for a number of reasons, but one was just like, hey, we had our daughter, and I never wanted to wake up out of control, or not, like whether it's a hangover or like if something happened, never be able to like, hey, if we got to go, not that it happens often, but like if you go to the hospital or whatever, I just never wanted to be able to not get in the car and like take care of her. Right. And that's just a me personal thing. Not everybody. Some people are like, dude, I couldn't do this dad thing without having drinks. I'm so stressed out all the time. So I'm like, for me, I took a break. I was like, okay. And a month or two went by. And then I was like, wow, I don't miss it. Like, I don't need just one or two. Why would I do that? I have no reason to. And then, we're doing some of these interviews and a couple really high performers like, oh yeah, I haven't drank in years. I'm like, oh, like it's kind of a thing. So I just never really needed it again, but I'm bringing it back to this. So we get to this bachelor party and like these big things that are happening. And those are when the true tests happen. It's like, am I going to be fun around all the guys that are drinking? Are they going to think I'm weird? Like whatever. And so it's such an interesting journey that I'm on, where it's like people will joke around and be like, dude, you get your chip? Like, like are you sober for the rest of your life? Like all the boys just kind of, they'll crush you for it. I'm drinking the NA beers, right? And they're like, dude, I'm pretty sure there's like a little bit of alcohol in that. I'm like, dude, like, it's just a funny thing. But then you have some sober curious guys that are like, dude, and it's mostly the gym guys that are like, or they're really making a lot of dough in their W-2s or whatever it is. And they're like basically high performers themselves. They're like, dude, I've been thinking about that. And like, well, how is it? Like, what's the benefits? You probably feel amazing. You probably crushing the gym. Dude, I was prepared to get up and like go for runs every day at the bachelor party. And these guys are waking up at like 11, like, dude, I feel like dirt. And so for me, I'm not saying not to do it and to get to stop doing it, but it's allowed me to, it's allowed me to be more present, but B, it's allowed me to do things at a high clip over and over and over. And I don't miss it. And I kind of, it's like, I don't know if I'll ever go back to it, but I wanted to bring it up to people that are listening that have thought about it. Cause we had a couple of people in our coaching group that have been like, dude, I actually stopped myself and I feel amazing. And no one's been, I felt weird, like sometimes I don't know who to talk to about it. And I just want to let people know that that's the journey I'm on, which is kind of cool. I don't know if it's a forever thing, but bring it back to the bachelor party. It really allowed me to this weekend was like, I was so present with the people that I was supposed to be present with. And he had the time of his life. We golfed on Friday. We did paintball Saturday, steak dinner, went to the casino, did all this stuff. And you know what? I was the only guy not drinking, and it didn't matter. Like I was still me. I actually felt like I was more funny, more engaged, more all this with everybody, just being a goofball and being me. And it just proved to me again, it's like, dude, just keep doing what feels right to you. Don't worry about anyone else. The little nudges you'll get and things like, it's just someone else's fear of them not being able to do it. And like, for me, I'm just unapologetically me. And I think it takes a lot to get there, right, in your life. And it's cool. I would just say I appreciated some of the things that have happened that have not been great over the last like year. And it's made me like, when I have big moments like this and like time, I can be fully immersed with the people that I want to be around. And like the thing that's keeping me up at night, I'm really trying to focus and now not just be incredible at our business, but like with my relationships, make sure that I'm there, present, being the person that they deserve to be around, and not someone that's locked in, stressed out, trying to grind the whole time and not engaged and like not even there. So I was like really proud of that. We had a blast, and just want to bring that up. So
I would argue that when you're being an entrepreneur is pretty lonely sometimes. So I would argue that actually the thing that you need at the end of a long week is the social interaction, and it is the gym, and it is those things that you think that you're like, I need to recharge, but you and I are natural born extroverts. And I think that, how they say like the people that if you don't go to the gym or you don't work out, you're like super tired, because the energy actually comes from the thing that you're doing, not from the recharging. So I would tell you that actually seeing those people and having the social interactions will give you more fuel and more energy than you think. That is the thing that actually gives you the fuel. Now, I'm not saying like stay up all night and not sleep, but I've found that like whenever I just want to like chill and be alone, there is a time and place for that. But then it's like, actually I miss the interaction. By the time you're there and you're in the interaction, you're like more energized than ever, You
need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it was like a quote or something on Instagram where I saw it, but there was like every
humans crave it, literally. Like,
yeah,
that's what,
you do. Yeah. No, totally, dude. And it's, I felt more charged than ever. And I don't know, it was like the camaraderie and things. Like, first of all, we had a golf. It wasn't just golf. It was a tournament. We're all playing each other for money. And then the next day, paintball. Like, dude, you're literally going to war with like 6-on-6. Unbelievable. Like, it was just one of those things where everything about just being a bro came back. And I just like, and not that it went away, but it just, at what point can you see 15 of your closest friends and just be you and have a blast and do the dumbest stuff ever and have just it? We as I think as men crave that, and we don't get it a lot because we're trying to balance, like, you're trying to balance going to work every day to provide and protect for your family. And then you're like asking permission to go do this because, there's kids running around and you're like, are you okay if I leave for a little bit? Like, but so what the point is, yes, dude, I totally agree. I think it's in human nature where you need to be around that. And we always build our lives around our jobs. But this is one of those moments where it's like, you need to build your life, you need to build your job around your life. Right. And like make your life, plan out your life and do these things and set things to look forward to. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs and even people, even just working the 9 to 5, you're like, dude, you're going through the cycle and you like what you feel like. Sometimes that burnout feeling is just because you haven't been around your people and haven't done things that excites you anymore. So like book the trip, make time for friends, call them, FaceTime, just be goofy. Like embrace the hobbies. And some people do this to the 10th degree, but and you're probably listening like, dude, I do that. You're weird. But like, I know for a fact the small business owners and people that are like doing the other stuff, you almost feel like there's no time for it and you have to do it because it's going to allow you to come back refreshed and allow you to attack it. So
just remember that, like, if you're building something, you're buying real estate, you're building a business, like you're building it and you tell yourself that you're building it for the life that you want to live, and you'll never actually get to that life that you want to live. So you might as well live it along the way. And you can't take any of this shit when you die. You can't take any of it. So the big house and the big car and all those things that like you strive to get to, you're going to get to it one day. And then you're going to look back and be like, wow, I didn't enjoy the 20-year process of getting here because I was so fixated on the thing or the goal. And then when in reality, all you actually wanted was to get back to the life that you wanted to live. So to me, sometimes people that don't have a lot of money are like actually really present and happy. Now, maybe they don't know what they're missing on in terms of like being able to take care of their family, and there's a give and take. So I think what you said is perfect. I want to get into some more of the business and partnership stuff. I know we don't have too much time, but I kind of want to get into this a little bit here. I'm curious about what's one thing that you've learned working with me that you might not have expected?
I think it's finding, this is a tough one. I think it's learning that the reason it's a hard thing to answer because we were friends first, then we lived together. So you learn something about the people you live with and the habits they have. And I knew you were like type A, you were clean, you were regimented, you took care of yourself and like you were successful at your job. But like when you get into a business, you're even closer. It's the craziest thing, dude. So I found that we like divvying up our roles, like we really uncover who each other are within the business, not just as like friends. And so there's things that you do that I hate to do. And then the other way around. So I think the long answer to this is I've learned your habits, and it's just funny to see what you're super passionate about and what you actually hate to do, which is really funny. And I think there's the coolest part, I'll just say, is I didn't think that you would be, and I don't know why I didn't think this, but you're really good at keeping us grounded and keeping it not, even though you're driven by money and like, I don't mean all the time, but like you are very much like, hey, you're double checking the finances like 5 times a day. You're keeping like the books tight, if you will. I always kind of thought you would, but you do this like to the 10th degree. And then, but through that, something that I probably wasn't expecting is like, you're the first person to remind us we're doing this for not the money. You're the first one to say, hey, dude, relationship first. It's not about the money. How are we feeling? How are we doing? Like, we need to celebrate this win. We need to make sure we're doing this for the right reason and not for the dollars. And that's what I truly appreciate. You've grounded us more times than I can think of. And especially if we're having like a bad day, just bringing up the fact that like, dude, it's for the greater purpose. It's not this like this little thing isn't that big of a deal. And so, that's a cool thing because I don't think a lot of partnerships have that. I think 2 people get in and they are so obsessed with the vision and the journey that they like need to get the next dollar and they need to do the next thing. They move. And you're good at like hitting us with the pause, making sure, hey, does this align with what we want to do? And just kind of humanizing the friendship again and saying, dude, we need to meet up. We need to go grab a drink. We got to go play some golf. We got to we're getting too laser focused, bro. And it's good. It's really nice and something I wasn't expecting. I think you never just think in a business in general, like you're going to talk about that stuff. And maybe that's what makes our relationship rare and then like what we're doing rare because it doesn't ever feel like I never feel like I don't want to do something because like, it feels like you just want it for the cash. It's like, dude, we're always doing this to enjoy the fruits of our labor, enjoy the life outside of this, which is cool. Sometimes when you have blinders on, it's hard to realize that. And I don't know if that really made sense, but that's where my head's
No,
at.
it 100% made sense. I think, like, candidly, like, I don't know if we've really ever like opened up in this way on the podcast, but I think our friendship has failed in a lot of aspects. Like, I think that's we always see each other and we always regroup, and it never fails to the point where like we're not friends. It's almost like we're longing for the friendship even more. And we've been in situations where we haven't shown up for each other in big moments because of the business. And I think that is something that I'll always put first and try to work towards continuously. Like, don't worry, dude, we'll get back to it. Like, I'm not worried about it, but it's interesting. Like, I never want our friendship to ever be to be put on the back burner. And I think that we take each other for granted in situations because we're like, well, I'm going to see him on Monday, or I'm going to see him on Tuesday. And I think that's where the reminders come from. And I think it's good to hear that, because I think we're both, again, it's about the life, and the business is like the business is how we get to a place that we can live the life. So, and that's good. I think it's good to know it because we both know it,
Yeah. And I don't think there's a perfect balance. There's no such thing. And the only reason I say this is like we spend so much time together, and it's like, it's very hard to turn off or understand when it's business mode or friend mode. And like, it's almost it's an impossible battle. Like, you're ping ponging back and forth. It's just a season of life. And so, when people say, oh, it'd be amazing to go in business with your best friend, it is, but also it's so hard to extract yourselves out of it and say, dude, are we just like enjoying our life right now? Or are we like locked the fuck in and just, so my point is that has been hard for us. And I agree with your sentiment.
Couple more questions here. I want to talk about something that I don't know how often you've talked about it, but like, I'm curious about what you think your purpose is in business, in life, and maybe how you're having your daughter has shaped your thought process around that.
So I don't know if I truly can put into words what like my purpose is. But I think this is hard. So I always just want to live a life where at the end of the day, I can safely say that I positively impacted the people around me. They enjoyed being around me. They appreciated me, and that I made an impact on them enough so that it was worthwhile being in their life. Right. And I think the purpose, then there's also, that's the people around me, but then there's also this internal purpose where you're like, hey, everyone was born with a different set of cards, a different hand. And I was able to use the hand that I was dealt and make it to the top 1% of whether it's business or just not. And I hate to say like top 1% because that's like an arbitrary number. What does that even mean? But like, there's people that are doing big things in life. And I've always wanted to lead and live a big life and do something where I felt like, hey, someone else made it to that level, that it's possible. So how did they do it? And I want to do that too. And then I'll feel like I've made it. But along the journey, you have these little things that pop up when it checks you to say, hey, do you really want that thing? Or do you want this thing? And one of those things was having my daughter. And like, I always knew I wanted to be a dad, but your world is completely shaken and changed when it actually happens. And now it's just watching another version of you come into the world, and like a lot of really good things about you come out into the world, then a lot of really bad things come out, and you're like, whoa. And it's just the funniest thing. It checks you in so many ways. But once again, it goes back to like, I feel like I was built for it because I was the firstborn, right? If I already had this protective role and like habits where I can take care of her, but it adds gasoline to the fire of your why and doing the things you want to do. It's because you truly at this point, like for me, like want to make sure she can live out any dream that she possibly ever wants to, and just can have this happy, fulfilling life to just enjoy her time here. I actually, I don't know the answer to this, but I just want her to be able to enjoy her life and not need or long for anything. But at the end of the day, I know how much going through pain and grinding through hours of work and things like shapes you. So I don't know that you can just hand someone something on a silver platter and say, hey, enjoy your life. I think you do need to work and grind and go through things to shape yourself. So it's such a hard journey. She's only 2. So we're going through it. We're enjoying it, dude. It brings out the kid in me again. And just like, I love hanging out, dude. I rather hang out with her than fucking any one of like the older people in my life, because I'm watching the world through her eyes again, and just like appreciating flowers and grass and like little toys, and watching a Disney movie and just having her laugh and think things are hilarious that are just like, she can full sentences running. She's been like doing things early, and I'm like, I'm trying to keep up. She's so fast. She's just like a bat out of hell. She's crazy. And I think it just, everyone's like, dude, that's your kid. Like, that's you. And it's so funny, and I love it. And I just, it's hard for me to balance all we have going on, but like being present. I'm proud that I can say, I think for the first 2 years of our life, I've been so present for everything, and I haven't missed anything. And and I realized like, I'll sacrifice doing like these things in my life that I thought I needed to have or do just to spend more time with her, because I realized like grandparents and other people, they're living their lives again. And like, dude, that's all that matters. Like, I have all this money, but like, all that matters is that I was there for everything, and that my kids want to be around me and spend time with me now. And like, all this other shit that I have, I don't care about it. So I'm trying to really like hone into that and be like, okay, I can balance this thing and I can do it. And then I have I have some other people in my life that are struggling to have kids, and it was easy for me on the first one. And I'm like, dude, this is what it's about. Like, it's so finite. It's crazy, man. So I would say having my daughter and becoming a dad, it's made me better in every single aspect of my life. And I love it. I never thought I would like it as much as I do. So there you go.
Beautifully said, man. I cannot wait to watch you have more kids and just be a present dad. And it's like the most fun thing for me to watch you do, because I've known you since you were fucking 18 and drinking Hypnotic in a frat house. So I can't wait for what's next for you as a father and for us in business. And I know it's all going to be great things.
So I just want to touch on one last thing on that question. You asked me, what do you think your purpose is in business and life, basically? And I think it's to help people wake up to their potential and remind them that they're not stuck. They're just one decision away from changing their lives completely. If I've learned anything from us over the last couple of years, we have this innate ability to amplify the voices of others and other people's stories. And I think making people feel seen and heard and putting them up on a pedestal is what we do best. And to make them feel good about themselves. And I think we do that because, people don't really remember what you say. It's how you make them feel. Right. And so I don't know that you can really put into words or how we do this. It's just that our little light that we offer. And I think you and I are very similar in that aspect. And maybe that's just why we're aligned on so many levels. But I've been told, you walk into a room, you light it up, and you're always genuinely curious and asking questions, and, getting to know people with no end desire, right? I'm not trying to get anything out of them. It's just like genuine curiosity and making them feel good. And so, I want people to realize that, everyone has their own special gift or ability. And if we can highlight that and make them feel good about it and lean into it, the world will go around even better than it is today.
Beautifully said. So I want to circle back to the business with you and I. I'm curious, we've kind of broken out some of these roles here. As it relates to the business, how do you see your unique role? Visionary, integrator, both, something else? Like, you tell me like how that's played out and maybe how it's shifted since we started the company.
Yeah, totally, dude. I think it has shifted probably since the beginning. I think in the beginning you play the visionary and the integrator at some point, right? You have an idea, then you have to bring it to life. But over time, I think I've evolved into the integrator. Essentially, like, I feel like I'm the bridge, right? Like the translator between the big dream and the daily execution it takes to build them, meaning like putting the system together for us. I think what you're really good at is coming up with the idea, and then I'll build out the system or the map, and then you daily execute, right? And you go through that. And so it's such an interesting, that's where we're at right now in our journey. And I think it can change over time, but when we lean into these things and not try to push them onto the other person, I think we're able to chug the machine even faster. So the book's Traction by Gino Wickman, and that it really defines the difference between a visionary and then the integrator. And if you can find someone that fills the void of what you don't like to do or what's not your superpower, if you will, then you have a perfect marriage and a great partnership. And I think we both lean into each other, like myself being the integrator and you being the visionary, and just trying to really force ourselves to stay in our lanes and it's allowed us to go really far.
I think as long as we both have this like knack for trying to help the other person, and this goes to any partnership, whether it's like a marriage or relationship or just business partnership, if you're there to serve and you're there to like put the other person before you, for example, like there's several times where we've had to do podcasts on our own, like because of scheduling conflicts and stuff. And like we keep the brand going, and you and I are so aligned that we know the types of questions that we're going to be asking these guests. So I don't feel like, I do feel like the episodes are better when we're together, but we're not missing a beat with that. And if like you have to go away, we record 2 episodes a week. So like life happens, vacations happen, like things happen. So the fact that, we're able to keep it rolling and not really ask questions or not really like ask too much of a why. It's just like, okay, like I have to handle it this week. And that's what we're doing. And obviously for the most part, we do everything together, but to not have any resentment for the other person in doing that, I think that's what, even more so than visionary and integrator, like that's what makes it easier to work with, in my opinion. So this is a little bit deeper here, man. Like, and I liked when, you asked me this question, as I didn't really have a good answer, but then I kind of developed it as I thought. I'm curious about your younger self, and would your younger self be proud of who you are today?
100%. I'll say without a doubt. And it's not just because of what we've built together or what I've been able to like accomplish, but it's because we never quit, or I feel like I never quit when it gets hard, and it gets hard a lot. And it's just, life happens. You get hit with things left, right, up and down, unexpected things. But if we can stay the course and learn to become calloused and battle tested and trained and just keep going and keep pushing forward, adapting, that's one way to look back. I think my younger self, I think to put it into maybe a better terms, is like I've become the man I needed at a younger age. And so if that person, I know I can put my hand down and reach out and grab the younger Ryan that wanted to be successful in his own right and pull him up and say, hey, we're not there yet, dude, but we're well on our way and we have this momentum. He'd be like, dude, you already made it. What are you talking about? You have most of the things that you aspired to have at a younger age. And now it's just the next mountain peak. So I only have this answer because I asked you and we worked our way through it. At first I was like, I'm not totally sure. So I don't want to come out with so much confidence in that answer because we had to work our way there. But yeah, 100%. I think there's like so many different versions of yourselves, and it's almost like this version of me is the older brother to the younger version of me. And I'd say, yeah, dude, he'd be proud. You're not finished yet. You're just getting started, but keep going, and you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, and it'll probably get harder. That's the thing, So it's like, as long as we know that, and we interviewed somebody else today. It was how many steps ahead of us was he? Like 20, and he was our age. So for us to not get like, comparison is the thief of joy. Like I don't want to leave there being like, I'm not him, like that doesn't do us any good. It's just like we're in the right rooms. So I think our younger self would certainly be proud, right? And I had trouble with this question, but I think that was a good answer. This next one is like, everyone's really good at something, and I think that you and I are good at amplifying people's voices. But I'm wondering what you think your true superpower is, because everyone really has one, and it's about unlocking it and about moving the needle on that superpower, in my opinion, as opposed to like diving into all of your weaknesses, because some of them they'll never get up to par. So like, what do you think your true superpower is?
Yeah. And I don't know, this is why I had such a hard time answering the visionary and integrator question, because I didn't fully grasp what like a visionary and integrator was in the beginning of building a business. And like, I always kind of thought myself as a visionary because I feel like my superpower is clarity. Like I can see the end before we even start, and then just build a roadmap to get there. Right. We have an end destination that we want to get to. And I'm like, okay,
that might be the definition of an integrator.
There we go.
You know what I mean? Because like,
yeah.
I never, as a visionary, I've never seen, it's not like I've never seen the end, but it's like, I know this thing is, I'm like, where I'm like, like jogging through the fog, and I'm like, all right, I can see 5 feet in front of my face, and I think you will continue. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like that clarity, I think, is actually an integrative tactic, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. It took me a while to get there, because I was like, I think of vision and I think of clarity, right? Like, oh, you have the clarity for the end result. But if you look up the definition and you read it in the book, it's actually, you're on point. It's the integrator. And so it's interesting. And I've come to learn this as we've navigated so many different, I don't know, like battles on this journey, if you will. But yeah, the clarity, and then obviously amplifying the voice of others. I just like making people feel good, dude. And I'm so naturally curious. I think that's one superpower that we both have. It's like, I'm so happy to just ask you a million different questions, whoever you are, because I want to learn how you got to the level of success you did and how you balance it all. So I can pull a little piece of your story and weave it into my journey and become a better version of myself. And I think that's what the podcast allows us to do. That's why it doesn't feel like a job or a habit or a chore. I get so excited for them because I'm like, okay, who's this next amazing person that we get to talk to? And what can I extrapolate from this conversation and weave into my own life? And I think some people have to force that curiosity and like pretend they're curious, and they really just want to use that other person for something, where I'm like naturally just want to be part of that conversation. So yeah.
And communicator, and that's part of it too. Like just a very clear communicator. That's some of the things that I see. So if you could sit down with your 18-year-old self, we've asked this question to, I don't know, 200 plus, maybe 300 at this point, podcast guest. But if you could sit down with your 18-year-old self, I knew exactly where you were when you were, well, I knew you more so when you were like 19, 20, but I knew the person you were. Depending he would listen, what advice would you give him, your 18-year-old?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to it's funny, your 18-year-old self, like it dabbles between high school and college a bit, right? That year of the cusp. So I'm going to go to the high school version of me, and I'm going to answer, stop trying to be liked. Start trying to be authentically yourself. And like, you can be legendary. You can have this big life. You can do the big things. You're capable of this. Just focus on the long game and protect your peace at all costs, right? Like, it's your journey, no one else's. Don't let other people's fears and things that don't think they can do go down to you. And, I probably would have gone in college. In hindsight, everybody goes to college, not everybody goes to college, but it's a traditional path for most people. I did feel like I was built for college, and actually one of my brothers didn't want to go to college. He still did, found his own success. But, throughout college, I'd say like I probably would have changed my major a couple times, like differently than when I did. Now that I know about the world, this is just a more of like a black and white kind of answer. But if it's tactful, like if you're a younger kid, I honestly would have went to school right for business and finance. Just knowing that the world is really revolved around money, and no matter what you do, you're going to be chasing that. So if you can learn how to run a business, if you can learn how to manage your money and create new dollars by just improving yourself and your skill sets, you're going to go so far. And I would not have wasted any time doing anything else, because you can work on your passions on the side. You can have fun on the side. And like I think the notion of follow your passions and build a job and life around your passions, it's not easy to do at all. And you can do it on the side while running a business. And we've kind of done that. So just giving real talk on that, there's some of those are just motivational quotes for a reason. And I think if you want to get tactful business and finance, it will allow you to become an entrepreneur. You don't have to go to school specifically for entrepreneurship or communication or art or whatever it is. So that's just a personal anecdote.
Yeah, I don't think college majors really matter too much, to be honest. Like, that might be controversial, but I just don't think they do. I think it's the people, the person that you come in to college with at 18 and the person that you leave as, the shifts and the pivots and the relationships, and then like the way that you see the world, the shift that you make in seeing the world and how you treat people it doesn't matter. I don't think what your major is. I mean, for sure, if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, like you have to take a certain path, right? But you need to become the person that is able to be the lawyer or the doctor. And that, I think, is held to me in a high regard. So,
well, and think about this too, dude. It's, for me, I think about college as it's all about experiences and learning how to build relationships and navigate certain new experiences that you've never had. Like, get involved as soon as you get there, right? There's groups, whether it's extracurricular, whether it's fraternities, whatever it is, get around the people that are doing the exciting thing that you want to be around, and don't be afraid to do that, because they'll teach you the ropes. And I think, people go to school and they just hit the books, and then you get out of school and you become this robot-ish person that like you're great at reciting the textbook. But if you're a doctor that you understand, let's just picture this, right? You're a doctor that goes to school and you just dive into the books. You don't make any new friends and relationships, and you're all the bookworm, compared to the other doctor that went to school, maybe during the fraternity, during the club sports, whatever it is. When you're going to the doctor as their new patient or client, who you're going to relate more to, who's going to make you feel good about what you're like the body checkup you're getting. So I just really like communication and that skill and art and having like the worldly experiences to be able to translate those across whatever you do professionally is so key, because you're going to make people feel comfortable enough to give you the I don't know, I guess like the nuts and bolts of their lives and feel comfortable trusting you to help them get to the next level or treat whatever it is. So I agree with you completely on that, where I don't know if it is exactly about what's in the books. I think it's about the experiences and who you become going through that journey of 4 years in whatever it is you study.
Without a doubt. So you asked me this question. It kind of stumped me a little bit. I think you kind of redirected me as we were in the middle of answering it a little bit. Do you think that you're ultimately chasing freedom, or do you think that you're running from something?
Yeah, so maybe I projected a little bit on you in the episode, but I now that I think about it, I actually do think I'm running from something. I don't think I'm really chasing that freedom. I mean, freedom's going to be great, but I think I'm running from I don't want to be a failure, and I want to be that person that all my friends and family look up to, or they expect me to be in a way, and I expect myself to be. I never don't want to be that person, if that makes sense. Like it would be so easy for me to quit and just be like, hey, just I don't know, like a typical 9 to 5er that works to 67 and doesn't have any unique imprint on the world. Like I love the business that we've built. It's so uniquely us, our branding. It's different. Most people do this as a solopreneur. We're doing it together. We share the Instagram, share the podcast. And it's like, it's just different and it's us. And I really appreciate when other people say that. And they're like, I see you. And for me, I don't, even though it gets hard and like, it's not all sunshines and rainbows. I think this little piece allows me like the creative brain. Like for those who don't know, it's another insight to me. It's like, I'm not really numbers guy. I can be, it's not my passion. I'm a really creative brain where like, I love to draw. I love to I don't know how to really explain the creative brain, but like art, that's really important to me. Drawing, and then putting like the color scheme and really the marketing and branding of our business is something that I love because I'm so passionate about it. And so I think this just like allows me to do that on a bigger scale, if you will, really. So it's like that passion conversation we had a little bit ago. So bringing it all back, I don't think I'm chasing that freedom, because I think that's going to come no matter what. It's not really if it's just when's it all going to come. And then I think I'm just running from that idea of like, I never want to be stagnant, and I just don't want to be looked at as a failure in any way, shape, or form.
The thing that comes to mind for me and both of us is like, you get into conversations with certain people and you have like certain people have like a gravitational pull towards them. And I think you're one of those people where it's like dynamic is the word that comes to mind, where it's just like, wow, I just really enjoy being around that person. Like, I just really you have it, like I said, gravitational pull towards them. They amplify your voice. They make you feel good, but they care. And like, I think you're emblematic of all of those things. And that's the running to me, is like running from the version of yourself that's not that like the version of yourself that's like, I just played it safe every day. And like, yeah, sure, I took care of my family, but I don't think that's the only thing that matters. Like just solely taking care of your family. And I think it's more so like, hey, like when this person steps into a room, I'm not saying you need to everyone turns and looks at you and like you're the star of the show, but like you want to get into conversations and you want to have an imprint on people that make you feel, maybe selfishly, like it's like, hey, I was able to have an impact on them, and they were like, wow, I want to spend more time with this person. So I think that's part of it. And I'm kind of running from the person that forgot to do that in life.
Dude, I feel seen, if you will, dude. Like that's it. It's hard to put it into words, but I guess the gravitational pull, I do feel like, there's so many things that I'm lacking, right? But I think that I was born with certain tools and gifts and things that like I would not be maximizing my potential if I didn't lean into them, if you will. And once you realize what those are, I think every person should lean into them. And mine are completely different from not really from yours, but like from other people's. And so I think we owe it, right? Like we were born in the United States of America, dude. And like we, middle to middle upper class, if you will, right? We figured it out. We have a certain toolbox that we're given. It'd be a shame not to use it and also help a ton of other people on our journey to the top. it would just be a waste. And that's how I view it. Like there's a lot of people that come from zero, and that's my competition. They have a big chip on their shoulder. They have nothing to lose, and they're just bull grinding it to get through to the next level. And they'll be the ones working till 4 a.m. Right. And so I'm like, okay, I know those guys are out there. We've interviewed a million of them. They're beasts. I'm like, dude, you've been given half the stuff I've been given, they've been working for. So you should, and it'd be a waste. And it's like, it's a failure in itself to not try based on what you've been given and blessed with. And so it's just something that I do think about a lot. And it's like, how do I put that into words? It's like, that's my chip. Like I started maybe on second base versus at home plate, if you will, on a baseball diamond. And it's like, okay, like you lean into this, use this, you're going to have some trials and tribulations, like just like everybody else, but you don't have an excuse.
And there's people that were born on third too. And there's people that were born, a step away from home. So I think it's all perspective, right? A couple more questions here. And this one's just interesting and maybe vulnerable. Like what's something that you haven't figured out, or something that you're still like actively working on, that it doesn't have to keep you up at night necessarily, but just like you're not there yet with?
Yeah, I kind of touched on it a little bit, like that what keeps you up at night question, but it's really just how to slow down without feeling like I'm behind. Like slow down and be present in the moment, because I don't want to slow down. Like our business, like I want to crank, and I know what we're capable of. If we just really, strategies, just things have to get aligned, and we're already light years ahead of where potentially I thought we would be, right? And now it's just we are unlocking the next level. But I want to slow down and be like more present in the moment, keep that peace of mind, if you will, but at the same time still keep chasing. So,
love it. Last question. It's a fitting one. What's one message that you want to leave for people listening, who are just they're listening to this podcast episode? Maybe they've been listening to us for a while. Maybe it's the first time. I hope there's a bunch of people that are listening to the first episode ever. They get to know us or get to know you. What's one message you want to leave them who they're chasing something bigger? Maybe they don't know what it is, but maybe it's real estate, right?
Yeah. This one will be a little bit of maybe a couple different answers in one, but I'll start here. Is like, you don't have to know it all. You just have to start, and action beats perfection every time. I always found myself as a perfectionist going through school and like trying to be meticulous. And I brought it into even our business. And there were times where you're like, dude, like we're like looking at this from so many different layers. We just need to get this out. It doesn't need to be perfect. And you're right. Like I'm very conscious of the message that goes out, the branding and all of these things. And like, because I know what good quality is compared to poor quality, I know what we're capable of. But at the same time, if it takes too long to get out, you'll never start. And that was the same with real estate. We got 85% of the way there. We got good at analyzing deals. We had the cash, and it was like, dude, we just got to take the plunge and make offers, and then we got to negotiate, but then accept and go through and close on the property. And then another piece of this conversation is just be authentically you. I think so many times you're going through the journey of life and everyone's opinion comes in, whether it's things you see on social media, whether it's your friends, your family, all those around you. They're projecting their fears onto you and like how they're perceived of the world. Like, oh, I wouldn't go buy that or do this because you're going to look down upon. Prime example, and I'll just bring this up, is like, there's one thing, and I'm going to have to force myself to buy it. I know it, but it's that one guilty pleasure purchase, and it's the blacked out Lamborghini Huracan, the Batmobile, if you will, right? And I want to end here because that's the carrot that I'm dangling in front of my face. Now, most people would say, dude, if you can afford a $150,000, $200,000 car, you should be giving most of that back to charity. You should be putting your daughter in private school. You should be buying the home. You could buy 4 more rental properties with that for those down payments. But I think it comes down to what is true to you in your story, and what is that impact that it's going to have on you. And for me, that's the thing I've been chasing since I was a kid. And it's more so not just for the car. It's to prove that I became the person that could afford that car in so many different rights. And it's also the impact that I know that the car can have on other people. My dream is, it's just a small dream, but one of them is like driving around in that car to be able to pull up. I can vision this so clearly, pulling up to grab food where, my wife and I go out to dinner. I come back out and there's someone either taking a picture of the car, or they're looking at it, and it's a kid, and it's just someone that like he aspires to be someone. And that's just me opening the door and be like, dude, you want to sit in there? You want a picture? You want to rev the engine? And because that's who I wish I had when I was back then, just to feel in that space. This person was cool enough to have it, but when you meet that hero, he was cool enough to let you sit in it and experience it. They say never meet your heroes, right? Like, I want to be the hero that someone, when you meet them, they were exactly who you thought they were, and they made you feel amazing about yourself, and they inspired you to go do that for someone else. And so I can kind of end it there, but we had someone on the show recently who bought an orange McLaren, and it was exactly that. And he's like, dude, I cried the day that I bought that. I took ownership by myself, had it delivered, didn't need anyone around me. It wasn't for other people to like think I'm flashy. And like, I just love the experience of the car and what it can do for so many people. And so that's just one thing, guilty pleasure wrapped into one. Leaving the message was like, the last message I'll leave with everybody is just be so authentically yourself, and don't worry about the fears of what other people are projecting onto you, and how they, how maybe your life doesn't fit into their box, and you don't have to be cookie cutter. You can be you, and you'll go very far.
Beautifully said. I hope people had a good time getting to know inside the head of Ryan Bev, and tune in for next week's episode. Thank you for joining.